Hey everyone, we are back with another minimalist video. If you're new to the channel, a few months back we did a minimalist challenge where we really pushed ourselves to get rid of 496 items in the month of July. We'll put a link up here and also in the description below, so feel free to check out that video. But in this video, we're trying to answer a very simple question. What's the best way to declutter your house?
In other words, we're wondering, is it better to do an intensive minimalist challenge like we did earlier this year? Or do we want to build intentional habits that we can sustain over the long term? We want to see what we can learn by decluttering at a slower pace, and we'll plan to share all of our insights with you throughout the video. Unlike our other videos, we don't know exactly what we're going to learn from this, so stick around till the end to hear our final reflections. So let's get into it.
So before we jump into the actual rules of this challenge, I wanted to share the inspiration for this video. And it was actually after we posted our last minimalist challenge video. Many of you commented on that video sharing your ideas for how to declutter your house. And it was this one in particular from Christina that really stuck with us and planted the seed that eventually flourished into this video idea. Here's what Christina said. I'm not totally sure what you meant by we wouldn't want to do this regularly, because if you declutter regularly, you get better at it and it's not so overwhelming. You don't have to do 496 items every month, but even a few items weekly is helpful. Christina brings up a couple of great points. The first is this idea of growth mindset. It's this idea that you can get better at decluttering and it becomes easier over time. Now, Jess has been the one that's really focused on minimalism in the past and getting better at decluttering. Now, I fully engaged in the minimalist challenge, but she has a lot more experience with this. And it's funny, I can hear her smiling in the background as I reflect on this, so I'm really curious what she has to say about all of this. Let's go see what she has to say about all of this and the growth mindset. Hey Jess, what do you think about the inspiration for this video?
I think Christina makes some really good points. Like, I theoretically feel like doing this more regularly would be a helpful thing, but I feel like we probably have 496 more items that we could get rid of. So the thing I'm worried about is if at the end of the month, if we do like one item a day, am I going to feel accomplished enough or like it's made enough of an impact?
That's actually a great segue to Christina's second point that she made, which is that you don't have to do 496 items every month, and that even a few items per week can be helpful. So let's tell you what we're thinking for the next 31 days. So this is how it's going to work. For this to be a true comparison video, we're going to continue this for 31 days, and we're each going to do one item per day for 31 days. So we're not going to progress the number of items like we did in the last video, but just have a fixed number and continue that for 31 days.
So in the last video, we allowed ourselves to get ahead. So we were able to say, okay, I'm going to do day 16, 17, and 18 all at once. So we're going to set a limit on that so that we can't just declutter once 31 items. What we're going to do is we can get ahead, but only by 7 items, right? So every week we have to do at least 7 more items. And we think that's gonna help us build this intentional habit. So we're excited to reflect on this along the way. So stick around to see what we think about it.
And for this video, we're gonna use a box that we have laying around. We're going to put items in the box throughout the week and just see what habits we can form.
I have my first item.
Do you? Mm-hmm. You already have your item picked out?
Yeah.
What? Well, she's ahead of me already.
Uh-huh. We do not need 2 sets of salad claws.
Wait, so are those 2 items?
No.
Are you sure?
It only counts as one.
Okay.
It's a set.
Okay. So the challenge has officially begun. We have 1 item in our box, and I want to hear what your thoughts are at this point in the challenge. Do you think we're going to be satisfied by doing 1 item per day for the rest of the month? Let us know in the comments below.
What's your item going to be?
What's my item going to be? Actually, I do have an idea. I have this old fleece. So when we were on our last van trip, my fleece that I wear all the time in the van, the zipper is stuck. Like it literally won't come undone. And I've tried and tried, and it's not like stuck or anything in the back. So this is going in the donate box. This is technically not a donate box, it's just a get rid of box, but we'll definitely donate the fleece. People will want that, right?
You definitely had yours in advance.
I totally did. I mean, I've had that for like 3 weeks while we were waiting to start this video. So thanks, Christina, for the idea again, and excited to start the challenge. So we're a few days into the challenge and I already have a big observation. The first is that I don't feel as much fatigue when I'm getting rid of items. I remember when we were doing the minimalist challenge, there were certain items that I was so strongly attached to that I just couldn't say yes to getting rid of. Like this bathrobe, for an example. You probably saw this already as we were collecting the items in the box. This was a couple days ago. But on day 2, I immediately went to the bathrobe and was like, you know what, I'm not gonna wear this. I can get rid of it. And even though there was some of that like emotional attachment to the item, for this case, like it was a lot easier to say, you know what, let's get rid of it. And I remember Jess being really surprised when she saw this in the box. We didn't catch it on film, but she was like so surprised. And I think it has a lot to do with just the fatigue. I don't know if it's emotional fatigue or if there's like a decluttering fatigue, but it's something I've really noticed going at a slower pace is that I'm a lot more likely to get rid of items that I have an emotional attachment to.
People say it takes anywhere from 20 days to 60 days to build a habit. We're on day 4, so stay tuned to see if at day 31 we feel like we've built this minimalism into a habit.
So one of the things when we started this challenge was we weren't certain if we'd actually feel like we're making progress. But now we're on day 8, I think it is, and look at how much progress we've already made. I'm actually pretty encouraged by this, and I think we're going to make a ton of progress in 31 days.
So this challenge has actually been really challenging for me so far. It is really hard for me to look around my house and think, like, what one item do I want to get rid of today? So I've decided that I'm going to start thinking through it a bit more systematically to say what is one area of the house or one drawer that I want to go through. And then it might be a few days of stuff for the challenge. And I think that's going to help me a lot. So this is now a whole bunch of items, but I'm just going to count this as 3 days. So this is getting easier. This is my day 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
So I've finally done it. When we started this challenge, I wasn't sure if I'd be able to do it, but I've decided that I'm finally going to pull the trigger and get rid of some board games. What I'm getting rid of is not just any board game, but it's actually Settlers of Catan. And this was one of the games that got us into board games. For all the board gamers out there, you'll know that Settlers of Catan, or Catan as we often refer to it, is considered a gateway game. Meaning that for those who haven't really played board games in the past, it's often the game that really gets you hooked and you really get into a new hobby and start collecting and buying other games. This was the case for us. This was one of the first games that we played with friends that really got us into board games. And our board game style and interests have evolved over time. And so we no longer play Catan. In fact, I think it's been 4 years, maybe more, since we've played the base game or any of the expansions that we have. Because as you can see, we have not only the base game, but we have 4 expansions for the game. So I'm going to get rid of them. Thankfully, it's a popular game that I think I'll be able to snap some photos and post it on Facebook Marketplace and actually sell it for some money. But really a sign of me moving forward and making progress towards getting rid of items that we no longer use. And I think it's also significant because I've done a lot of research on minimalism as we prepared for this video and after the last challenge. And the thing that I kept coming back to that everyone advocates for is this strict rule of not buying anything else as you're minimalizing or decluttering. And for us, it's not a strict rule or a blanket statement that we can't buy anything else, because we'll continue to buy and collect board games, but it'll be board games that we'll play in value. So for us, it's more about intentionality in value than it is any like universal or strict rules. So this now gives me 5 days in the future for my 1 per day. So I'm catching up with Jess now. And a few of these might actually disappear. I ended up posting these online, and I think I have interest for the bottom 3, the 3 expansions already. So if you see those disappear in the next couple of days, that's why.
I decided to go through my t-shirts and I found 5 more. So for me, this is day 17 through 21. The thing that I was most worried about doing the challenge at this slow of a pace was if I would feel satisfied at the end of it. And what I want to say is I don't feel satisfied, but I think that's okay. I'm thinking about it as, say I went to Disneyland for 3 days and I left Disneyland thinking, wow, this was an awesome experience and I would love to go back. Versus spending 10 whole straight days at Disneyland and feeling like, oh, I am so sick of all of the people and all of the lines, and I'm done with rides. And that's how we felt at the end of the Minimalist Challenge, where we progressively did more items every single day. At the end of it, we felt like it was too much, and we were ready to be done with it. Now, I don't feel satisfied, but I feel like I want to do more, and I think that that's a good thing.
So it is day 31 and we are officially wrapping up this challenge. As you can see, we have most of the items here. There are a few items that aren't here that we've already sold or gotten rid of, but it has been quite the challenge and it's been significantly different. So I wanted to start just by doing some final reflections. And I think for me at least, and Jess, you can share also, but I think the most obvious reflection is how different our experiences were. Like I know for me, I much more appreciated this approach because it was slower. It allowed me more time to really reflect on why are we doing this and the motivation for it. I know when we were doing the Minimalist Challenge a few months back, it felt like I was so focused on the goal and the number and wasn't really obsessed or thinking about why am I doing this? And so with the slower pace in this challenge and doing one item per day, it allowed me more time to reflect on it and think about the mindset shifts and what I'm actually thinking about when I'm struggling to get rid of items. So I think it was definitely better for me to go at the slower pace. What about you? I know you struggled with the slower pace.
So I initially struggled, as I shared previously, with the slower pace of the challenge. There were times where I looked around the house and I was like, what is the one thing today? And I really wanted to just do a lot more. And I think part of that is because I've been learning and thinking about minimalism for many more years than Corey has. And so it felt like I just want to do this faster and I want to get it done. But I think I've come around to doing it at a slower pace and allowing it to be more consistent, because in the past, I've done these intensive bursts of minimalism where I get rid of a ton of stuff over the course of a period of 1 or 2 months. And then I don't do it again for a couple of years. And then during that time feel like, oh, we have so much crap in our house. And so now I actually feel like, I don't feel satisfied by the amount of things that we got rid of. And that's going to help me continue to get rid of things next week and next month and next year without feeling like I need a minimalist challenge to get credit for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, as I look at the items here, it's a lot of items. It's 60 some items, but I still feel like there are more items we could get rid of. Whereas at the end of the Minimalist Challenge, I looked at that pile and was like, we're done. Check the box. There's nothing else to get rid of. So I think that is a huge difference between the two.
Yeah, and I think if you are doing this with a partner, and if you're someone who's super into minimalism and your partner is just tiptoeing into it, going at a slower pace, I think would be more helpful. I think there's a couple of reasons why you might want to consider doing a more intensive minimalist challenge like the one that we did last year. And in that challenge, we got rid of 1 item on day 1, 2 items on day 2, and all the way up to 31 items on day 31. The 2 instances would be, first, if you have a specific reason why you need to. So if you're moving and need to minimalize and declutter a lot of things before you move. Or if you look around and you're like, wow, this is my first foray into minimalism and there's really a lot of stuff that I want to do around the house. You could get your journey started by doing a minimalist challenge. I would just urge you to not go so far that you get into that fatigue and don't want to do anymore.
Are we saying then, and we haven't actually talked about this off camera, but are we saying that the slower pace is the better one, but there are a couple exceptions of when you would want to do a minimalist challenge?
I am reluctantly saying that the slower pace, I think, is better.
So there you have it. That's our final verdict. We're going to wrap up the video with that. If you haven't already, feel free to add a comment. Let us know what you thought about this challenge. If you want to see more challenges like this, give us a like. If we get a few, I don't know, dozen likes on this, 50 likes, then we'll do another challenge like this in the future. As always, thanks for watching and enjoy the journey.